Welcome to the Post-Game Spread podcast. For those of you that have already been with us, welcome back. For our new listeners, let me introduce myself, welcome you, and explain what this podcast is all about. My name is Blake Helm. I'm a firefighter, veteran, and former pro baseball player myself. I had a wild journey through baseball that, to put it in a nutshell, let's just say I had some tools and some promise. I played some D1 baseball. I had 5 surgeries in college. Could not stay on the field, and it was an absolute battle to come back every time. After college ended for me, I ended up walking away and joining the military. I was done with baseball. Served my 4 years in the military, and towards the end, I kept having these dreams that I had to finish this. I had to have my vision quest and play pro baseball, and that to speed this up, I was playing wiffle ball with some buddies. Turned into playing in a men's league, turns into playing for the U.S. military all-star baseball team, turns into trying out and making a reality show with Cal Ripken as the host called The Player that never aired. The winner was supposed to get a contract with the Orioles, and that turned into bouncing around indie ball with mixed results, some good, some bad for a couple years, and then it all ended with a fastball dotting me in the temple, and I had post-concussion syndrome for 6 months. So an absolute crazy ride, and through all of that, I learned a lot about myself, a lot about life, and how to overcome. And I had a chance to go on my buddy's podcast a year or two ago and tell my story. And it was so therapeutic and fun and awesome to give thanks to all these people that helped me along the way. I think baseball is such a great teacher of life and life lessons if you pay attention. So from there, I thought, I want to do my own podcast. I want to give back to the baseball community in my own way and be a part of it. And I want to help guys tell their stories, their unique stories and their journeys through baseball and what they learned along the way, and help them, pass along their knowledge. Because what good is knowledge if we don't pass it along? So I've been going back and talking with former pros with interesting stories, talking with their parents, their friends, their teams, their coaches, their managers to get context, to get clips, to get quotes. And it's really been a celebration of someone's career and what they went through. It's somewhere between podcast and biography. It's positive. It's a celebration. I think we really have something here that's special, and I'd love for it to grow organically, whereas one door opens another door, and we keep opening up to new guests here. So I would love for this to reach, pros with great stories, big leagues, minor league guys. So if anyone is out there listening, you think you have a great story, or someone you played with has a great story, and you want to get in touch with us and be a part of this, be on it, my email is thepostgamespread@gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from people. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your time. I'm extremely excited to announce that this episode is being brought to you by DC Kitchens. In the greater Louisville area, phone number 502-296-7574. That's right, this is Don Cunningham himself, the man that raised the man. This is Wes's dad. This is a master craftsman. This guy has been at it for 43 plus years, working on kitchens, working on his craft. If you think back to the golden rule of spending 10,000 hours on something to become a master, try more like 100,000 hours for Don. And not for nothing, he's a cool guy. He's got a cool vibe. Go see him. He will get your kitchen right. Thanks, Don. We are also brought to you by Rude Boards, a custom skateboard company located in Cincinnati, Ohio, made by none other than the legend himself, Wes Cunningham. They're hand-pressed, hand-shaped, hand-painted, hand-stained. He's built quite the following on Instagram. This is not some rinky-dink little thing. He has over 13,000 followers. Go find him on Instagram at rude_boards, or you can contact him via email wscunningham1@gmail. Talk about a guy living his life authentically. It's Wes. Go get a Rude board. Hey, buddy.
Howdy.
All right, we're going to pick it back up here for part 4. This is cool. This is going to be pro ball and then kind of life beyond, and then our baseball Q&A at the end. So
heck yeah.
My man's starting his pro career here. I've got your first year, and we'll get into like all how it went and how it started. But first year with the Eugene Emeralds in the Northwest League, played 60 games, 207 at bats. 8 doubles, 5 triples, 5 home runs, 290. So, man, I mean, a strong, first year in pro baseball. It's pretty customary or not unlike guys to have kind of struggle when they first get to pro ball and see all these dudes that have, nasty stuff, and it's wood bats, and it's a whole different lifestyle. So I'd love to hear kind of like, where did they first send you to some sort of instructs, or was it straight to Eugene, or how'd that go?
So, I got sent straight to Eugene. That was their short season.
Mm-hmm.
I actually flew out I want to say a few days to a week later. I got a bad flu right before. So I showed up a little bit later than everyone else, like a few days. Um, and it was really cool. I mean, Eugene, Oregon, beautiful. I'd never been up to the Northwest.
Yeah.
The Northwest gets a bad rap for it being rainy all the time. That's in the fall and winter. In the summer, it didn't rain at all.
Beautiful.
I think it's sprinkled once the entire time I lived out there.
Okay.
We played at the University of Oregon baseball field, which Nike.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, it was a turf field, all Nike, all top of the line stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And they put us up in a hotel,
really,
in downtown Eugene, which I loved. Going back to the me eating nothing but bagels. There was a bagel shop across the street every morning. I got 1 or 2 bagels. But no, it was it was a bit of a number one. It's just kind of the shell shock, right? You know, you get out there, you don't know anybody. And everybody else is kind of in the same boat. Some of the guys who played at the bigger schools knew of each other,
Sure.
But I didn't really know anybody, was going in blind. Had a few practices, it's nice when everybody's kind of on the same footing, that, you don't feel like the odd man out, because kind of everybody is, right?
Yeah. Well said.
But it was great. I started off slow. Like you said, it takes a little bit to get, kind of used to it, because, I was the best hitter in the OVC, and then you go here and it's like, I talked about some of the guys trying to pitch around me in the OVC. When you're facing guys who they're the best where they come from, they're not afraid to bust you in. They're not afraid to challenge you. They're not afraid to, nobody's throwing around some no-name guy they've never heard of.
Right.
And it was challenging. I think I started off, it's more fun to mention that my first career hit was a home run. It's less fun to mention that I was like 0 for 15 before that.
You usually leave that part out.
Yeah. But since we're here, I'll be honest. But no, I mean, and that part was a little disheartening, because, you go there, you want to prove yourself, you want to make a name for yourself immediately. And, it takes a little bit to kind of get going. But once you get going, it's a whole different world playing ball professionally, where guys, your lineup is not always the same.
Mm-hmm.
People are interchanging because everybody's really good. The lineup changes just purely because people are getting moved up, moved down, let go. It's different, and you form solid friendships, but they're almost more of that superficial friendship.
Right.
And I don't want to minimize it in that way, as if it like didn't mean anything, or like I still wouldn't, be excited to see one of the guys. But you go from 4 years of living, breathing, partying, everything with the same group of guys.
A true brotherhood. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, like, you all experience everything in life together. And
deep
then
connections.
you get dropped into this different world where, you're spending all your time together, but it's also a job.
Yeah.
There's no longer like, I can't distract myself with school, but I also can't just pretend like it doesn't matter, because you have to perform.
Yeah.
And like, I would still consider a lot of those guys friends, but it was a very different, kind of very different atmosphere.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that I had a really good manager.
It's like Greg Riddick. Is that, am I saying that right?
Yeah, he was a big league manager for a long time. Coached Tony Gwynn, Padres back in the day. This guy, I mean, he was an old timer. He had forgotten more about the game than I had ever thought about learning. And it was actually his last season. But he was amazing as a short season coach because, I mean, he knew the game inside and out, but also was great with that transitional player, these guys kind of entering this world.
Yeah.
You know, and he had one thing a lot of people don't realize is that the coaching staff in professional baseball, it's just as competitive as the position players. You know, it's each lower level coach is trying to move up to that next level. They're all trying to make it to the show also.
Absolutely.
And it was kind of nice because he was an old timer. He'd been there. This is his last season ever coaching. He was just happy being there and helping us in our careers. You know, there wasn't any of this.
I lost you. Wes.
It was unique.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, take it back 10 seconds. I lost your audio for 10 seconds.
Oh, okay. I was just saying that, like, you know, it was really unique. You know, he wasn't trying to move his way up. He wasn't trying. He had already been in the big leagues. It was his last season, and he was just trying to help us out with our career.
So it was from a very pure place.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it was. I mean, it was pure. It was heartfelt. It was genuine.
Yeah. Your dad spoke about how much he really liked him too.
Oh, yeah,
a couple interactions with him, and you liked him obviously.
Well, yeah, that's, you know, that kind of speaks to how, you know, how he saw his role as a manager of these young professionals. You know, of most of the other coaches I interacted with in the minor league system would not take the time out of their day to talk to a parent of a player. You know, it's like, that's college, that's little league, that's, you know, but I mean, you spoke to my dad. He's a caring man, wants to make genuine connections with people. And they were able to fly out to the Northwest. It was the first time either of them had been out there. And he went out of his way to talk to my dad and, you know, assuage some fears that, you know, how's my son doing? How's he handling being out here? You know, he's a tough guy. What does he not tell? You know, and
it's cool.
Coach Rid, he wanted us to just call him Rid, but he was great. He couldn't have been better. I remember one thing I always joke about is, you know, there were two things that were extremely different in kind of the approach and mentality between college ball and pro ball in my experience. And one, you know, you remember in Murray, if the ball's going to hit you, you wear it so you can get on base. Yeah. No, you get there. He's like, get the hell out of the way, man. Like, we're paying you money to be here. We're not paying you money to sit on the DL. And the second was we had benches almost cleared once. And after the game, Rid sat us down and he said, next time that happens, last person off this bench gets fined $100.
Really?
Like, yeah. I mean, he was like, if the bench is clear, you get the hell out there.
Yeah.
And like, you know, he was just this old school mentality, but he was a phenomenal coach. Couldn't have been better for you know, what he had.
That's amazing. I've got a few questions here. What was the jump in competition like for you? You know, going from being like the dude of the OVC to being, you know, surrounded by all dudes. Everyone was a dude in their conference on their team. Well, you know, pitching wise, was it a huge jump for you going from the OVC to seeing all these, you know, higher level pitching?
So I wouldn't say talent, like outright talent. There was not that big of a jump. I think it was more of confidence and control. You know, like I said, the control for them to challenge you, the control of them to bust you in, and the fearlessness for them to give you what they got. On the flip side, while it was short season and most of the guys I was playing with were, you know, straight out of college, just drafted like me, there were guys that they had brought up from, you know, the Arizona leagues, the Dominican leagues, and things like that. So you faced, I remember one instance, I faced a guy throwing 100 plus, but he had no idea where it was going. So he was there to kind of like, all right, you know, throwing him to the wolves, and we're up here like, you know, not knowing what to expect. But overall, like competition as far as pitching, you know, pitchers to hitter competition, there really wasn't. As far as raw talent, there wasn't that big of a difference. The difference you notice is, at least in my experience, was position players. I mean, everybody out there is going to make every play.
Where were you running it out there? Mostly first base?
So I was drafted as an outfielder, but they still kept me at first quite a bit.
Okay.
They drafted me as an outfielder purely because of my speed. But
were you working on being an outfielder in pro
I
ball
was
some?
I was doing both. And honestly, fast forwarding a little bit towards the end, they were thinking about moving me to second.
Really?
Which, yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that.
You and me both. But I was mostly first base.
Yeah.
And but I mean, you weren't getting many infield singles. You know, I mean, like these guys are making every play, every time, and that's where I kind of noticed the biggest difference.
Yeah. Your numbers speak to someone that belonged. Did you feel like you belonged there? Like you weren't overmatched?
Once I got my legs under me, I felt right. And I think it was kind of that. I was probably putting a little bit more pressure on myself with the rough start early on, but then also as I spoke to Murray, I think one thing that helped me out more than most was how comfortable I felt in a dugout with guys that, I cared about and that I felt comfortable around. And that kind of reflected how comfortable I felt on the field. So after a few weeks of being up there and I started developing that comfort with, the team, I think it started to kind of reflect my approach to the plate. I mean, obviously I wasn't, I put up good numbers. Obviously they weren't over 400, but, after that kind of rough start, I started to feel right. I started to feel back. My swing felt right again. I was starting to get a hang of what kind of bat I liked. Just kind of how I was being approached differently from the pitcher's perspective. So just kind of maturing, I guess, would be.
I love that. What was so this is an interesting thing I've always thought is about pro ball, and like especially going from college, where pretty much up until you get to pro ball, like it's always kind of beaten into like team, win, team. But then when you get to pro ball, at least in the minor leagues, it's really about you producing. It's about you, and you have to be selfish in ways. And then it's like, of course, you still care about winning to a degree, but it's mainly about your own individual production. Would you say that's accurate?
100%. And honestly, that it was kind of disheartening.
Yeah.
Like coming from a team that you spent all your that you genuinely cared if everybody did well.
Right.
You fast forward to a team where it's like, we got our ass kicked, 9-3, but who cares? I went 3 for 4.
Right.
I don't give a shit. My roommate that year, who I actually got really close with, he was also a first baseman. So I mean, like we were very close, but there was also kind of this innate competition.
Yeah.
Which was weird.
Yeah.
We ended up getting real close, and I still consider him a friend. But like, it's a very different approach and mentality. It's you want to win.
Yeah.
It's always more fun when you win.
Yeah.
Because more people tend to be in a good mood, but it's all about how you perform. What kind of day did you have?
Yeah.
And because that is what. And there's always that looming, I'm being watched and judged, and they're making their decision about my career. This unknown they, right?
Is there a heaviness to just having that thought in your head all the time? It does loom over all of you. I mean, everyone knows
so. So we talked about Murray. Like I had the bad temper, but I didn't really let it linger. It's not so much when I got to pro ball. I let it bother me more. Because there was, it wasn't just crap. I didn't play well this game. It was, if your mind starts spinning, if this keeps up, what's going to happen? I remember there was a game I was playing right field, and by telling the story, I'm just feeding into all of everybody's accurate memories of me as a defensive player. But towards the end of the game, I'm running down a ball in the gap in right center field, and I got a good jump on it, and I was proud that I was able to cover the distance and make it to the ball. Well, sure enough, the damn thing hit my glove and fell right black out. You know, E9. And we ended up, that was late in the game. We ended up losing the game. And that's kind of what did it. And
Yeah.
I remember being back in the hotel room. It was an away game, and that hit me. And I sat there and I replayed it over and over. And I was dwelling on it.
Yeah.
In a way that number one, that my mentality wouldn't have let that happen at Murray. Number two, my teammates wouldn't have let that happen at Murray. They wouldn't have let me sink deep and beat myself up.
Right.
You know, because I was living with my best friends. I was playing with my best friends. They would have pulled me up. They would have, you know, but that's not the case in a place where, yeah, you're all friends, but there's this underlying selfishness in everybody's approach to the game.
Yeah.
And not to say people were like, oh yeah, let them wallow. That's fine. But there's more of this idea that you don't have to stick your neck out or try to, you know, and yes, there's the beauty that you play every day, so you can make it up the next day.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't, you know, with nothing else to take your mind off of it.
Yeah.
I remember I remember that one particularly because I remember going back to the hotel room. We were out of town and not even a cool area. And I sat in the hotel room and I just sank in it, man. Like I was just sitting there just wallowing in my own self-pity and replaying that horrible play over and over.
Welcome to my world, Wes. Yeah, and it's so interesting because like what we already talked about, like you used to have all these other things in your life that, you know, you could, you know, if you were feeling a little overwhelmed with baseball, you could concentrate on your studies or go work out or go play in your band, or you had your Murray State brothers that like you said, could pick you up. And this is just a whole different atmosphere, place, less things to do. And like, this is your job now. So of course it hits a little more close to home if things aren't going well.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And like, you know, we had a lot of fun. Like when we were, you know, I made a lot of good friends. We would go and explore and like, but like I said, it was even the majority of the friendships still kind of had that superficiality of like, the closest thing I can relate it to, and I think most guys listening to this can relate to it, is when you go on a bachelor party and you don't know all the other guys. For that one weekend, you're all best friends.
Yeah.
Because you're there for the bachelor, you're there to have a good time. Who cares if you don't know each other? You don't know each other. Who cares what, you know, world you're going to go back to? For that weekend, you're best friends. Oh. That's kind of how it was in the minor league game.
That's profound.
Like, wow. While you're there, it's like, yeah, we're all good friends. We'll go out and we'll have drinks together. But it's still just this underlying superficiality that, like,
yeah,
you know, our friendships will stay on the surface because there's a chance that tomorrow one of us will be somewhere else.
Right.
You know, and in the off season, we're all going to go back to wherever we're from.
Yeah.
And
that's the damn truth, dude.
It was unique, and it put a lot of additional pressure on the game and on, you know, it made it. It changed, you know, your mindset.
100%. Oh man, that was profound. After this year, you get sent to Instructs. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about that experience for you.
Yeah. So that's for folks who don't know, it's Instructional League. It is actually it's not a good name for it because it sounds like you need extra instruction.
Yeah.
But it's actually it's an honor. It's where they send some of their younger prospects that they want to get a little extra work in, and it's much more of a one-on-one experience because with the number of people at Instructional League versus the number of coaches there, it's a lot more of a personalized one-on-one because a lot of the coaches are down there, and it's down in our spring training facility. And so it only lasts for about a month.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
right after the season.
Yeah, I think I may have had a week because if I remember correctly, I went straight from Eugene. I might, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I might have gone back to Murray for a homecoming weekend because a lot of the guys were were getting their master's degrees at Murray Hill. A lot of those guys and a lot of the guys I'd played with the year before. So I think I had a week either right in between or right after instructional league. I went to visit Murray, but it was pretty much right after.
Yeah.
And our facility was right outside of Phoenix, and yeah, it's just you wake up it's basically like spring training, but more laid back. There's
Okay.
no real competition because nobody's getting cut. You're all there to get better. And it was a positive uh, experience, and it was an honor to be invited.
Yeah.
I will say this is one thing that I always have to be careful when bringing it up because I don't ever want to make it sound like I would ever do anything differently or like I'm trying to um, lay the blame anywhere for me not continuing my career, for years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but instructional league kind of it had a little bit of a negative impact on me. Like I said, it was very much one-on-one, coach, player, all the time. And like I mentioned before, a lot of these coaches are trying to move up just the way we are.
Uh-huh.
Everybody's trying to move up that ladder. And so every coach is trying to make their mark on you to show how they, I helped him out do this. I helped him figure this out. They're all trying to, make a mark.
Somebody mess your swing up?
But so like on the flip side, I grew up thinking that if you don't take into account what the coaches say, you're uncoachable.
Absolutely.
You get that
it's
brand.
a fine line to walk.
Yeah. And I tried a lot of things and messed with a lot because like we've mentioned, my swing didn't look normal. It didn't look, like a baseball swing. And I tried anything and everything based on their suggestions and drills and, because I just wanted to look coachable.
I remember one fall you came back during a homecoming while you were playing pro ball, and your bat was really laid back, almost like at a 45-degree angle, and you were like working on some new things. And then, sorry, I'm not trying to take words out of your mouth, but when you talked to Dave Winder, you talked about kind of losing your swing and trying to get back to it. And it's a grind.
It was this, and it went from this trying to seem coachable instead of just having confidence in myself.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, I went straight from senior year at Murray to instructional league playing every day. We had 4 days off the entire season in instructional league, 4 days.
Right.
And you go straight from that to instructional league. At the end of that, they told us, they're like, go home, put your bat away. Yeah, keep going to the gym, maintain, don't go crazy, but take a little time away.
Yeah.
And I did that. And then I came back and I tried to emulate what they were trying to teach me and emulate these new drills. And my coach Morris gave me keys to their new indoor hitting facility, and I was in there. And it was hard to try to find where I felt comfortable again. If you look back to my second year, there are probably 8 different stances I had at any given time through the season. One thing wouldn't work for a while, so I'd try something else, and then I would have a couple good games with that. And thought, oh wow, I fixed it all, and then
and then another bad game, and then fixed it again.
Yep, and I became kind of a little bit of a head case, and all I wanted to do is remember how to get back to what worked and how I made my swing.
But it can be hard to get back to that swing,
It is. I mean, especially when, every day, day in and day out, somebody's telling you to work on this differently or work on this differently, or, you're not doing that right. And then you take a month off. And now when you get back in the cage, all you can remember are those drills they were trying to teach you.
Right. So was it a battle to get back to kind of your like authentic swing? Is that what you were trying to get back to?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever did. I don't know if I ever fully made it back until after my second full season.
Right.
And I don't want to jump ahead, but at that point it was kind of a little too late.
Yeah. But so before we jump to that, how did you feel after? I mean, this is a lot of baseball. This is a full collegiate season. This is, short season plus instructs. How's your body feeling after all this?
Oh man, worn out.
Yeah, I bet.
And part of it is just, day in and day out. You're at the field 11 a.m. You're leaving the field at 10 p.m. You're not physical the entire time, but a lot of that time. I wasn't hitting the weight room as hard because they were a lot more, they wouldn't let you.
Okay.
They were the weight room was in the dugout, or not in the dugout, I'm sorry, in the clubhouse. And, you know, they wouldn't let you do it without them
Really?
being around. Yeah. I mean, you had to kind of have your time that you were in the weight room.
Interesting.
And so that was new for me, because
Yeah.
that was kind of an outlet before in a way that I felt like
Yeah.
I could kind of maintain.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, by the time I got back home after all that, I just, I was worn out.
I bet.
I was wiped out, worn out, happy to not have anything to do, but at the same time, I never wanted to just sit still. So it was like this weird, like, all right, well, how do I fill my time now? You know, I was working for my dad,
Mm-hmm.
going to the gym when I could, but it was weird, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Did you feel like, I mean, did you eventually feel recuperated enough to get back after it into the gym before the next season?
So I never, once I got back home, I never stopped going. I started going to the gym again,
Okay.
but I took some time off before picking up a ball or a bat.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
and then I would say, you know, around the holidays, you know, November, December, I probably started to ease my way back into it. And then
Mm-hmm.
when the new year hit, I was back in the full, you know, every day going to the gym. But it was also for somebody who, you know, was always so used to having someone else there to help push and help, that self accountability and self motivation was
Yeah.
difficult at times, especially
Oh,
like getting
interesting.
into the it was never hard with the gym, and it was never hard with, you know, once I was there.
Yeah.
um but there were definitely times when it was like, I could go get some hacks in. No, I'll go tomorrow, you know, and which was
Yeah.
not, that was very unlike me
Yeah.
up to that point. And I don't know if that was because I had played so much ball, or because like I'd kind of entered into this weird hibernation, you know,
Yeah.
like that I was so unused to.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I wonder if kind of like part of your success was, you know, this supportive brotherhood at Murray State too, you know, and like always having teammates around that probably wanted to go work out and wanted to go hit and like were supportive of this process. They were all trying to do the same thing. And then all of a sudden
mhm.
you're a lone wolf doing your own thing.
Well, exactly, and it's like, you know, I had other things. Everybody I was hanging out with, I was the only one in with my experience at this
Right.
point. You
Yeah.
know, like I'm the only one doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I would have people I'd hang out with, and we'd, you know, go grab beers together, or we, you know, I'd work for my dad, or, you know, I think I was working. I was also uh, started working at UPS seasonally,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so like I had all these other things I was doing, but at Murray there were other people in the same experience as me, so we were all
Yeah.
kind of, we could build off each other.
Well said. Yeah.
At this point, I didn't have that.
Right.
I had a couple high school friends who were home from college, who we'd hit the gym together, but
Yeah. You're the only one
um,
training to be a professional baseball player.
exactly,
You know,
exactly.
it's a unique path.
It is. It's very unique when, especially when you come from a uh, a very not typical path to get there,
Absolutely. Yeah. You must have kind of felt like you were on your own in a lot of ways. I mean,
dude.
you don't have KT there explaining the subtleties of baseball to you and like what you need to be doing and shit.
Well, man, I mean, you know, I would go. I remember I would go to the my high school's, like, in, because they had built an indoor hitting facility at this point. They didn't have one when I was there, and my coach Morris gave me a key, and I would go there by myself, and, you know, for like the first 15 minutes, I'm just, you know, grinding, and then after a point, I'm like, all right, shouldn't there be someone else here to
Yeah.
kind of riff off of? Shouldn't there be someone
Right.
else here to talk to? Like,
Yeah.
and, you know, this is also back in the day before wireless headphones, and I'm trying to listen, you know, with some music on, and the cord is flopping everywhere. And I remember it was, there were days that it was just, there were days that were a lot harder than most,
Well said.
that to make yourself put in that extra time.
Yeah. One last question before I really get into your second year. How was your kind of like unique, like we said, you're not a typical baseball guy. How was that embraced in pro ball?
In pro ball, I maintained my independent studies. So, I mean, I was probably the only one on the bus who was reading.
Yeah.
On long trips. And when I played in the Northwest League, I mean, we had some long ass trips.
Yeah.
We played in Canada. I mean, we had like 11, 12-hour bus trips sometimes.
Yeah. Wow.
And so that was always very important to me, to kind of maintain that. It was just, that's where my interests lie.
Yeah.
But it was different not having assignments, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Like things that were actually, like, I could read it all day, but nothing that I had to be analytical and write anything. I didn't have homework. I didn't have anything like that. And I didn't have music. I still had music to listen to, and I was listening to music nonstop, but I didn't have that outlet. I couldn't go play my drums. I couldn't go to band practice. I couldn't it was just hotels and buses and locker rooms.
Yeah, man.
Which I right there, I made it sound so negative. It was also a hell of a lot of fun. I mean, like,
yeah,
I got to experience some cool ass cities in the Northwest and in Canada, and me and some of the guys had a lot of fun going out and exploring these cities, and but it was definitely a switch.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I think we can move on to your second year here, unless you have anything else you want to drop on us from your first.
No, that first year was, I loved Eugene. I'd like to go back.
Awesome.
I've been back to Oregon, haven't been back to Eugene, but I have very, very fond memories of my first year in pro. It was everything that I think a young kid would dream about.
Oh, that's perfect. Everything a young kid would dream about. I like that. Okay. Hold on, I got to write that one. That's there it is. Everything a young kid would dream about. I always find the titles for these. Young kid dream about. Okay. Moving on. Second year. This is going to be your first spring training.
Yeah.
Let's hear about that.
Definitely very interesting. So the Padres are an organization where the big leaguers, they have their own locker room, but we kind of share communal space.
Yeah.
So, we're eating meals right alongside the big leaguers, which I didn't really know who they were at the time, but
of course.
But it's also very it's very eye-opening, because you walk into this locker room with hundreds of guys. I mean, and some of these guys have been playing for 15 years. These guys are jacked. They have, just amazing ball players, big leaguers, minor leaguers alike. That was definitely kind of intimidating, but also satisfying,
mm-hmm.
to know that, like, hey, I belong in this room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Spring training itself, it wasn't. I never had that much fun in spring training. It's we were out very early every morning because we were in Arizona and they wanted to get us out before it got too hot.
Yeah.
And there's this, like, hovering, this looming, people are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fun, but it's also all work, and it's stressful at times. So spring training is an interesting place. I do have some fond memories. It was fun to just go out and be surrounded by baseball at all times. I mean, you walk out there, there's 5 baseball fields all around you. You're playing all day, every day. You're playing alongside some guys who would make amazing names for themselves. I was taking ground balls with Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah.
He was the first baseman in the Padres minor league system at the time.
There you go.
He was the first baseman, and like that, being in that kind of environment was really cool. But when you kind of broke out, it was also very competitive, and there was this that looming uncertainty.
everyone's baseball mortality is just hanging,
Yes,
and
100%.
it could be whacked at any time, and everyone knows that, and that's a weird
Yep.
feeling,
It is.
It is.
It's very weird, especially like when you see it coming, because
Right.
the Padres, they had it. I know other big league teams did similar things, but there were a couple days every spring training where they would have uh, uh, we
Cuts
call them
days.
release days. Yeah, release days. I mean, they would just release a large number of people, and there were
Mass.
guys who would try to outrun them and hide from them. It was always just like it was sad, man. Like
Yeah.
not sad like pathetic, but sad like these guys are hanging it up.
Yeah. This is the end of guys' dreams, like guys that have
Yeah.
spent their
I
whole
mean,
lives,
you're
building to
seeing
this.
it in real time. You're
Yeah.
seeing, guys, their dreams just kind of end right in front of them.
Yeah, it's a powerful moment. So, how
100%.
do you feel like you performed in the spring training?
I think this spring training, like I said, this is coming off that like uncertainty trying to find my swing back. I think I did all right. I mean,
Okay.
I definitely wasn't wowing anybody. I think at this point they're starting to look at me like, hey, what happened to that power hitting first baseman? Like he's doing well, but he's not, not wowing us like that, the way we kind of hoped.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I played well.
Yeah, I got your stats right here. 107 games.
Yeah.
362 at bats, 97 hits, 20 doubles, 3 triples, 5 bombs, 268. So I mean, all in all, like a pretty strong year.
Yeah, it was a good year. One thing I didn't mention, after instructional league, I was named like base runner of the year or something because I stole the most bases in instructional. So like I had that going. That was nice. Playing minor league ball, I had much more of a leash in what I was allowed to do on the bases.
Yeah.
At Murray, we didn't have a green
more.
light.
Yeah.
At Murray, we didn't have a green light that often. But yeah, so most of spring training, I practiced and played with the same team. I didn't move around a lot. And then went to Fort Wayne, their low A team, Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I stayed with the team all year. I didn't move up, didn't move down. I was one of a handful of guys that just stayed with Fort Wayne all year.
Okay. And then you played for Sean Wooten there. So is it safe to say that you were battling your swing the whole season?
I was battling confidence more than I think I was battling my swing. I was battling trying to, I felt that if I couldn't get my Murray swing back, then I couldn't be a good hitter.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I think I was selling myself short probably a little bit. And, there were definitely times when my body just made up for it.
Yeah.
Let's be real. I mean, how you set up in a swing is a small percentage of what it takes to actually have a successful swing. But I was battling confidence a little bit more. I was tweaking more than I should have instead of just being confident in my in what I had kind of created.
Did you go back to that same spread like that you kind of had at Murray where you were really successful?
I tried.
Yeah.
I tried.
Didn't feel the same?
It never it started to towards the end, but or towards the end of that season, but yeah, it was a lot more of experimentation than I was ever used to.
Where was or what was your living situation this season?
Fort Wayne, man, they put us up in an apartment complex, a 2-bedroom apartment with 4 guys in it.
Okay. Sounds like the minor leagues, yeah.
Yeah, they were charging us astronomical rent. It was basically, we got paid twice a month. One of our paychecks went to rent.
Wow.
And they would not let us they wouldn't let us look for outside accommodations.
Really?
Yeah, they would not allow it. And this apartment complex was allowed to charge whatever they wanted because none of us had to sign a lease because there was a chance that we'd move up or down. So they signed this kind of umbrella lease with the team that would have us paying stupid amount. And the place was fully furnished, and I ended up getting a staph infection from the couch. Like, I mean, dude, it was, Fort Wayne isn't it. It's a Midwestern city. It's a typical Midwestern city, northern Indiana. I'll tell you, I've never played in colder weather than I did that first like month in Fort Wayne. 'Cause we're playing in Michigan,
Yeah.
Fort Wayne, at the beginning of the season. Um, but yeah, I mean, you kind of get into your own little rhythm there, where
Hmm.
I had a lot more independence in Fort Wayne. It was only 3.5 hours from Louisville, so I drove my own car.
Yeah.
So I had a lot more independence.
Nice.
I would show up to the field early,
Yeah.
um, earlier than most, and Fort Wayne Tin Caps have an extremely nice facility. It was pretty new when I was there.
Okay.
Great facility, uh, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was definitely a switch from living in a nice hotel in downtown
Yeah.
Eugene, Oregon. A college town in the
Yeah.
Northwest. But
How much did you enjoy this season compared to your first season in pro ball?
I think it was the first season. I
Lesser.
think I enjoyed it less, and then
Yeah.
not because of anything that the Fort Wayne Tin Caps did. I think it was, I'm from the Midwest. There was something exciting about being in the Northwest, living in a hotel,
Yeah.
first time playing ball, being successful. A shorter season. Fort Wayne, it it felt a little bit more like a grind at times
Yeah.
than it did in Eugene.
I understand that. And then it's interesting when I listened back to your podcast with Dave Winder, you really talked about your third year, going into spring training. And this is the end. You were swinging it really well. So that off season, did you have a good off season? You feel like you
Oh
got
yeah.
figured some things out?
So I got my swing back in that off season, and
Beautiful. Just in time.
yeah, right. And I had started working with. He was the coach at Trinity High School, which was it's one of the big Catholic schools in Louisville. My dad knew him, and it was me and one other guy who was in the minor league system. I forget what system he was in or what team he was with, but uh, I worked with him at Trinity's facility all the time, and then he'd take us out to the field. Sometimes we'd actually take live BP, and he was left-handed. So I gained a lot of confidence taking batting practice. I always had a weakness against lefties.
Okay.
A lot of lefties tend to have a lot of left-handed hitters tend to have a little weakness against left-handed pitchers.
Yeah.
And that entire offseason, I faced nothing but left-handed batting practice.
That's nice. Yeah.
So I got a lot more confidence. I started to figure my swing out again. I felt a lot more like myself because again, I was that off season. I was practicing with other people.
Yeah.
You know, I was there. It for me, part of one thing that allowed me to kind of ease into practicing is when I also kind of had people there to shoot the shit with.
Mm-hmm.
People there to kind of take some of the pressure off it being work all the time.
Yeah.
You've been on a baseball field more, for years. It's you know, you're busting each other's chops, you're joking around,
Yeah.
but you're also there to work.
100%.
So that off season, man, I felt more confident going into that next spring training than I did
And then,
before.
well, let's just go then. Let's take us through this last spring training. This is kind of the end.
Yeah. So I think this part of this comes back to what I was saying before about just not having a long leash, being a
Yeah.
senior sign. They didn't have a lot of money in me.
Right.
And I wasn't coming out and I wasn't hitting 22 home runs. But that spring training, I was batting over 400.
Wow.
I was stealing bags, but I wasn't dropping bombs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was that first, I can't remember if it was the first or second big release day. They called me. The clubhouse manager came and got me, took me to the back room with 3 or 4 of the coaches, including my manager. And yeah, they told me. And when the clubhouse manager comes and gets you, you know what's happening.
You know what's happening. Yeah.
And I went down and I sat down and they kind of gave me, their spiel. It's like, we wish you the best of luck. Sorry, but this is where we part ways.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, wow, I'm not as brokenhearted as I thought I would have been in this situation.
Yeah.
And I just shook their hands. And I said, guys, thank you. It's been fun. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, I'll see y'all later.
Man.
And I walked out of there and I walked outside and I called my folks and I immediately had a text message from my agent. And he said, man, I've got other teams with offers for you if you want to play. And at this point, I told my parents the same thing. I said, the fact that I wasn't brokenhearted when I left that room,
Yeah, there's your answer.
it let me know that, all right, it's time to turn the page, turn the chapter,
Yeah.
and let's see what else we can do. Let's see what else life has.
Interesting.
And yeah, so that day, I think it really solidified my mentality later that day. So, like I said, the Padres were pretty integrated in the sense that the big leaguers, like, they were on a separate side of the facility, but we all shared like a communal space. There were bars in that part of Phoenix that minor leaguers were not allowed to go to.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it, I think, stemmed from the Arizona League and like rehab and minor leaguers being idiots.
Yeah.
But there were a couple like big league bars that we would get fined if they found out we were at.
Okay.
And so we got released early that morning. And like most people whose lives have just changed, drastically, we said, all right, well, we're going to go to that bar we're not allowed to go to. And it was me and a handful of other guys, all guys who got released on the same day. And
yeah,
we're having some drinks and we're shooting the shit and just kind of cutting up. It hadn't really sunk in. And then I kind of remember there was this haze that kind of settled over the table, and I don't know if it was after doing one or two more shots than we probably should have before noon, but it definitely fell on the table and it sunk in for everybody. And we kind of went around the table like, well, shit, what's next?
Yeah.
And I remember there was a guy there who was like a first round draft pick, like 8 years before, just never made it. And he was like, man, I don't know, this has been my life forever. I guess I can go back home and coach, and then there's another guy who was a JUCO guy. His path from the second he went to college was JUCO, draft, Major League Baseball. That's all of his eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And he was like, I guess I'm going to go play indie ball. I'm not ready to hang him up.
Yeah.
And, went around the table and it came to me and I wasn't really emotional at all. And I was like,
yeah.
I have a degree. I was like, I'm probably going to move back home. I'm probably going to get another degree. And I'll, don't really have plans outside of that, but I'll be all right. I kind of had this,
love that.
I'll be all right.
Yeah. I love that.
And so it kind of dawned on me like that everybody else, their world was rocked like irrevocably, it seemed.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
mine, like, yes, it had just taken a major blow. My plans for the next several months just changed.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like I was, dealt a hand I couldn't come back from.
Oh, well said. Yeah, it was more like a ripple than a tidal
wave.
It
was more of like okay, well, that chapter's closed. And and so we proceeded to continue our drinking that day and flew home the next day. And like I said, my the agent, he respected my wishes, but he reached out a couple more times like over the next week or two of other teams, minor league teams, and then a couple of indie ball teams. And because he gave it a little bit of time for me to kind of realize maybe I was missing it, maybe I would miss it. But that
never happened.
Never did.
Wow, that's such a mature, interesting take on how it ended. That's the most Wes ending that there ever could be. Like like some people, like, it absolutely destroyed me for a period of time after my career ended multiple times. And that's not uncommon amongst baseball players, especially when they've been loving it. It's been their whole life for their whole life.
Yep.
And I love that you came to this peaceful moment at the end, and it wasn't this heartbreaking. It was more of a smile that it happened, and now it's over, and time to move on.
It kind of, I think at first, the only little thing that might have bothered me at first was that if I had this feeling of the end is taken out of my hands, somebody else ended it for me.
Yeah.
But then being able to tell the agent that, like, no, I'm gonna hang up.
Yeah.
It felt right that I was like, I'm making this decision. I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, these are on your own turf.
Exactly.
Sounds like you could have kept playing if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, that's how it ends.
That's all she wrote.
Man, that's crazy. Like a lot of these guys that I've had on have kind of had these careers where it's like they, are scuffling in the minor leagues for years and their stats keep going down and down and down. But you had an interesting career, man. 2 kind of strong years, and then it was a numbers game, and they just didn't see a fit for you anymore. And then it was time to, close the book on it and move on.
And honestly, that's part of what I alluded to earlier when I was saying, you could play that what if game. Like, what if I was a redshirt junior? Like, what if I had a longer leash? What, like I said before, you could play that game all day long. And
I don't feel like you do, though.
No, I honestly, my folks ask me more than I ask myself. Like, my dad will just being the sweetheart he is, will every now and then just be like, do you have any regrets? Do you have anything you look back and you wish you would have done differently? And I'm, nope.
Yeah.
Like it,
I don't think you do.
No, I'm if things would have gone differently, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And I love where I'm at right now.
I love that. That's so perfect. And and you did it your way all the way through, buddy. So much respect to you. Well, this is another fun part then. So we're moving on from kind of our baseball life, and then we move into life after baseball. I'd love for you to kind of tell us what you did after baseball and kind of like the family you built and what life is like for you now. And then we'll get into our fun Q&A, buddy.
Sounds good. Yeah. So that first summer after baseball, I had never had a summer before, I realized.
Yeah.
I mean, you're playing ball every summer, or you've got things, responsibilities, this, that, and the other. And I got released in spring training. So I was like, well, I have the prospect of having a summer. This will be cool. So that first summer, I just kind of I took it easy. I worked as an archaeological field tech. I did that. So in my first off season after Eugene, I had never officially graduated at Murray because my minor was archaeology, and one of the requirements was a summer field school.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't do my summer field school because I was in El Dorado. So that requirement was never met. So my first off season, I contracted with a local archaeological company to work for them in lieu of my field school so I could get my degree.
Oh, wow.
So I got done playing ball and I reached out to them and they're like, yeah, we could always use field techs in the summer. So I worked for them part-time. I worked for my dad part-time, and I just enjoyed life. I went to weddings and bachelor parties and probably drank too much and probably went out too much. And, I was living with, I moved back home with my parents for maybe 2 weeks, and I was like, guys, since I'm back for good, I'm not living like you all don't want this. Moved in with a buddy of mine and had a good time. Fast forward that, that summer went well. Like I said, had a good time. Got another job, and I was like, all right, now it's time to start thinking about that other degree that I wanted to get. So
Indiana Jones time.
Yes, sir. So I enrolled at the University of Louisville to get my master's in history. At the time, I was working UPS on weekends, working for my dad during the week. I just knew that I wanted to go back and further my education. And at first I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my degree, as a history, with a master's in history. I didn't really know what it would entail. I just knew that was the only thing that I wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
And once I enrolled, I met a couple professors who kind of introduced me to what's called public history, which is, anybody who knows me knows it's right up my alley. It's the study of history, but also how it engages with the public.
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who could be shut off in some back room, in the archives or doing something like that. I need to be out and talking to people and engaging with people.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is for me. So I majored in public history. At this point, my now wife and I had met and gotten together. Emily was she went to the University of Kentucky on a track scholarship.
Wow.
To run track there. She only ran, I think, for the first year, and then became a full-time student. And her and I met, and she moved to Louisville so that we could see how things worked.
Yeah.
Grad school was fun. I took it a little slower than most because I had to work. I was working 3 or 4 jobs at any given time. I was still working for my dad, working a couple, internships and jobs here and there to try to get an idea of what aspect of public history I wanted to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to be in, museums, historical society, just boring for most people, but I was engaged, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then I come across architectural history and the world of cultural resource management, which I know everybody's eyes just probably glazed over when they heard that. But essentially, I found that I really love engaging in somewhat recent history and the way that our built environment impacts our own stories and our own history.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took on a project where I got a building listed in the National Register of Historic Places as a grad student, and thoroughly loved it. I got it listed for an HBCU in Louisville, Simmons University, and loved the project, loved that process. And at that point, I was getting ready to defend my thesis. And my thesis was, I focused a lot on social justice movements, whether it was the long civil rights movement, LGBTQ history, anything and everything. I kind of, the stuff that really interested me, that I was passionate about. So I wrote my thesis on the Black arts movement in Louisville. And I was fortunate enough to land a full-time job before I finished my degree. So I remember I got a job offer the week before I defended my thesis, working for as a full-time historian for a cultural resource management company. At this point, Emily and I were engaged. We had been together for, I want to say, 2.5 years at this point. And all the stars kind of aligned. She got a job in the career she wanted to get into. And so we both kind of started our careers at the same time, and we bought a house in Louisville, and it was great. We got married in 2017, April 8th, 4 years to the day of the day we met.
Oh, wow.
And had several great years in Louisville. Born and raised in Louisville, but I never really saw myself living there forever. I loved it, and I had a lot of friends and family that lived there, but I never really saw myself living there forever.
Yeah.
And in the day after Christmas in 2018, my wife told me that we'd been trying to get pregnant. She told me that we had succeeded. And this was, December 26th of 2018. By St. Patrick's Day of 2019, by the March 17th in 2019, we had moved to Cincinnati. She's from the Cincinnati area. We wanted our kids to grow up around cousins, and just this huge support group that we have here. And we bought our house in Cincinnati, and the rest is kind of, as they say, history.
Look at you living out your dreams, buddy. You got 2 and 1 on the way, is that what you said?
Yeah, I've got 2 boys. I've got Eddie Strummer Cunningham and Corey Nichols Cunningham. Yeah. And then we've got number 3 due in about 2 months, 2 months and some change.
Get ready, buddy.
Can't wait. Another boy.
That's so awesome, man. I just like your life has turned out so beautifully, and you got this you got to do what you wanted to do. I mean, like, how many people can say that they got to live out these dreams? You wanted to be Indiana Jones. You got to play pro baseball. It's crazy.
It is. I get to do what I love.
Yeah.
I get to travel. I get to, I get to research. I get to read. I get to be a professional nerd. I've just in the past year, I've gotten to travel back out to the Northwest in Seattle and Portland, Oregon. Was in New York City and Rhode Island just last month, researching and surveying historic buildings.
Man.
And I still do a lot of work in Louisville and Kentucky, getting buildings listed in the National Register to help kind of rehab historic buildings and bring life back to them. I'm very fortunate.
I love that. Well,
very
buddy,
fortunate.
You want to get to our baseball Q&A?
I'm excited for this.
Let's go. There's some good ones in here. There's some funny ones in here. I ended up reaching out to a bunch of former Breds and asking them for some some funny questions. You guys want to ask Wes some stuff? Here we go. So I got some funny ones from them, and like, you ready for me to rip?
Oh yeah.
Let's go, buddy. All right. First one. What drove your hunger? Was it Victor's?
Oh my God, man! I made the mistake of getting a hot sandwich my freshman year from Victor's, and I had to live with it for like 2 months before they'd let me change my sandwich order.
So Victor's was the sandwich place we would get when we would go on road trips, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep, Victor's. Okay.
And they might have been good fresh, but we'll never know.
Right, because they would sit on the bus for like half a day, and then we would eat them on the way back.
So good.
All right. This one is from D Hill. Is it true if you don't use it, you lose it?
God, he's an idiot. Oh my God.
Are you going to answer it, or do you want me to move on?
You just move on.
Okay.
He's a clown.
All right. This is I don't know if I even want to ask you this, because I don't know if you've ever watched a baseball movie, but I always ask my guests, what's the best and worst baseball movie of all time? Do you even have an opinion?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay,
I do on this one.
Okay.
I would say Bull Durham is up there for me.
Yep, it's my favorite.
I mean, I think just character development and
it's pretty accurate too.
Yeah, I mean, the way they portray like that grind and that how you might be getting played to play a game, but you still have no freaking idea what the hell you're doing.
Yep. And the director writer of that played minor league baseball, so that's why it's kind of very authentic. Ron Shelton.
I remember visiting my brother. He used to work at NC State in their athletic department, and we went to a couple Durham games.
Oh, cool.
Durham Bulls games, and they have the bull in the outfield.
Oh man, that's cool. Favorite thing to do on bus trips?
Read.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Figured you were gonna say that. Best Indiana Jones movie. What's your favorite?
Oh, without a doubt, number 3, Last Crusade with Sean Connery.
Easy. All right.
Hands down.
Just in a nutshell, why do you love the Indiana Jones, series movies so much? Why did that hit home with you so hard?
Man, I wish I could, bring it back to one thing. My dad turned us on to the movies young, and I was just instantly fascinated.
Yeah.
There's now, granted, I have a degree in archaeology, and I've practiced real world archaeology, and Indiana Jones is not an archaeologist. He's a damn treasure hunter,
right?
Who gets to beat up Nazis, and that's pretty damn cool. But yeah, there was just something just unflinchingly manly about it, but also like
that.
Inspiring that this dude's an academic, but also just a hard ass.
Love that.
Beautiful.
That is, is that kind of you in a way?
I mean,
that's Wes, right?
I mean, honestly, my favorite movies are about an academic badass. My favorite musician, one of my favorite musicians is the lead singer of one of my favorite bands, has a PhD. He's an academic punk rocker. I love to see
that's so you
combination.
That's so you. This next one is from D-Rock, and it's how many globs of hot stuff is appropriate?
Oh my God, big old glob of hot. Oh, I love my hot. In the Murray State training room, man, they had this disgusting jar of I'm assuming it was icy hot, but there was just masking tape with all caps, it just said hot on it. And of course, we envisioned this idea of a kid, somebody walking in the training room, and the trainer this is ridiculous, dumb Southern accent saying, "Hey boy, do you just need a big old glob of hot? Does it make you feel better?" And so much so that for his wedding, I think I went and got a little jar of Vaseline, and I covered it in masking tape and wrote hot on it.
He did send that picture to the group text.
I can't believe he still has it. I can't believe he still has it.
I think he still got it. Oh, that's perfect. All right. This is back to a serious one. Did your love for the game of baseball grow at Murray?
100%.
Yep.
I think it grew into more than a love of the game. I think baseball became more important to me at Murray than I ever thought it could be. And it wasn't necessarily, it transcended being a game.
Yeah.
At its core, yes, it was a game. When we'd go out and play, it was just a game. But, I woke up, I ate, I hung out with my teammates, my baseball team, and it was, it became more of a kind of how I started to kind of identify myself. Like
Mhm.
I had always played baseball before, but I think at Murray I became a baseball player.
I love that. Who is faster, a 12-year-old boy chasing after your home run ball or Don Cunningham?
Don Cunningham, hands down, and this is even before the 2 knee replacements.
Could Don move before that? Was he known for being a fast guy?
Actually, man, he could run. I
It.
remember going to his softball games, like his old man league softball games growing up, and
Can move.
he could move.
Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite 40 ounce of all time?
King Cobra, 100%.
King K. Got to. Favorite
Yeah.
favorite professor at Murray?
Dr. Bolin.
Yep.
He made class fun. He was a good guy. He was my advisor. And he's very just supportive, all around good dude.
Yeah. Does the name Lasco mean anything to you?
Oh my God. Who hasn't had a hangover from Lasco beers that expired 2 years before because Seth MacFarlane had 6 cases of them?
So this was after I left. I've only heard the story. So essentially, was it his dad had all access to like expired beer that he would bring back to Murray?
I think
everyone would get sick off it.
I'm not even sure where it came from, but he would sell it to, like, not physically sell it, but he would like sell it to people like, oh man, I've got this good beer, got it super cheap from my daddy. He knows a guy. Come to find out, like, the shit's just expired.
Yep.
And like, it's just, I mean, it made you feel all sorts of wrong.
Winslow food, yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. I agree.
Oh yeah, man. I will say, and I've told my wife this story before, I will never eat sour cream again. And it's because of Winslow. I went in there one weekend after drinking too much the night before. I remember on the weekends they would have like a brunch, like you get breakfast or lunch. And I was making a waffle, and I thought I saw this big thing of whipped cream. And my drunk ass was like, I'm going to stick my finger in it, which is disgusting in itself. And it was sour cream. And I think I dry heaved and almost threw up in the middle of Winslow. So lasting impact.
What is the best Tony Hawk video game ever?
Man, the original was good, but number 2 was
number 2.
1 and 2, man.
Yeah,
two,
it is.
2 catapulted it to the next level.
Just all the levels, and gosh, 2 is iconic forever. I'm glad we agree on that. Favorite skateboarder?
Wow. These days, actually, I'm still going to go back to a guy I used to love when I was younger, and he's still bringing it now. His name is Daewon Song. He's really technical, which is the exact opposite of me, but he's fun to watch.
Next one. Did you ever get caught in the spider's web?
Oh, more times than I care to admit. One of my favorite stories there is comes back to Daniel Flick.
Let's go.
Murray had.
He was booping people?
Yes, it was.
Oh no, the booping story.
Murray had an amazing. Murray had a huge student body from other countries.
Yes.
And a large Asian population.
Yes.
And one day we were down at the Spider's Web, and there was a large group of international students just minding their own business, having a good time. And I'm going to preface this by saying that none of this was in any way like mean or malicious or bullying.
Not at all.
Like, they were just kind of in this circle, and drunk Danny Flick just meandered in the middle of their circle, and along to the beat of the song just proceeded to boop each one of them on their nose. Just boop, boop, boop. And every one of them just looked at him like, is this happening? What do you do? Because I would, I'm born and raised here. I wouldn't know what the hell to do if I was booped in public.
Right? How do you react to someone booping you?
I mean, it's so endearing. It's cute.
I want to say, like, for the rest of that weekend, we were all running around booping each other.
Oh, you have to at this point. I mean, you have to have a certain amount of respect for a story and for an action that created a story that you're still telling over a decade later.
Well said. All right, here we go. This one's from KT. How many of your home runs should be negated due to the use of an illegal flat bat?
I would, man. Like I said, I definitely leaned into the flatness, but I'll tell you, the year after we left, they dumbed down the bats
Yeah.
in D1 ball, and I remember thinking to myself, like, all right, that record's going to be good for a while.
Forever. Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, man.
That's perfect.
Because some of those bats were silly. I mean,
Yeah.
if you can hit a home run while like painfully cramping,
Yeah.
something's up.
So when we were at Murray State, they were the thoroughbreds, the Breds. They've since switched to the racers. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I will forever be a Bred.
Me too.
I have it tattooed on my arm, Dirty Breds.
As do I.
Yes, sir. I am a Dirty Bred for life. Yeah, you got Dunker on there, man.
Yeah, the old school.
I've painted a couple skateboards for
Oh,
T.O.
that's
and Calhoun
beautiful.
with Dunker on it. I will forever be a Bred. I'd love if the rest of the team, but I'll tell you what, I do love that Coach Skirka still
honors it in ways.
Yeah, he still integrates it into like when they get like new gear and stuff, there'll be one thing that'll say like Breds on it, you know, as like throwbacks. But I love that he still recognizes that it's, I mean, because he was a Bred.
Absolutely. And unique to like many schools, like we were the Breds and every other sport were the racers.
Yeah.
And eventually they thought it was just too confusing to do anymore. I think
Well, yeah. So a history lesson for those who don't know, the whole school used to be the Thoroughbreds, and the local like newspapers used to call them the Racers for short. And at a certain point, the entire school decided to change their mascot, and old Johnny Reagan, if I remember correctly, decided that no, baseball is going to stay true. I think it probably was he just didn't want to buy new jerseys.
Right.
But baseball team stayed the Breds.
Love
and
that.
I will forever be a Dirty Bred.
Got to respect that. Favorite car ever owned? There's only one correct answer.
Oh, it's the Honda Odyssey.
It's the van.
Oh my goodness, man.
Iconic. This dude had a white van.
Black. It was black.
Oh, my bad. Black. Sorry.
Oh, man. I bought my minivan when I was 20 years old, brought it down to Murray, and I just had to retire that bad boy about 3 years ago.
Did you? Man.
Yeah. I gave it to Cars for Kids or whatever.
Do you remember the present that I left you in the back cup holder one time?
Oh, it was still there when Murray State was known for having a super cheap taxi service called Mama Nancy Taxi, and it was like $5 anywhere you wanted to go in Murray, and it was always you just picked up in this trashy van. And one night we actually had a DD driving my van, and drunk Blake Helm was in the far back in the third row, thinking maybe I just tell myself this to help me sleep at night, but he thinks he was in Mama Nancy cab, and he had some chewing tobacco in his mouth.
I don't think I knew where I was, Wes.
No, and at least you weren't spitting on the floor, but he filled the cup holder. And because I never venture in the backseat of my own vehicle, I don't think I saw it for like weeks. Oh man, hey. I think I'm pretty sure there were still little flecks of Helm DNA in the back of my car.
Let me tell you from the bottom of my heart that I'm sorry about that, buddy. I have no recollection of it.
I never went back there. I don't give a damn.
All right. Favorite Blink-182 song of all time?
Gross.
Give me a couple of your favorite books of all time.
So I saw that when you had listed, and I was thinking about it. So I have two from my two favorite book series. They're both the second books in the series. It's Stephen King, Dark Tower. The second book is Drawing of the Three. It's amazing. The whole Dark Tower series is amazing. Robert Jordan wrote The Wheel of Time, which is a 14 or 15 book epic fantasy. Amazon actually is they've turned it into a show. But the second book in that series, The Great Hunt, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a couple that my go-tos, Gates of Fire, I think I mentioned before, kind of really catapulted me into my love of like realizing I could study history. The God Delusion is a great book.
Graham Hancock.
Yeah. Richard Dawkins.
That's right. That's
a
great one.
And then my last, I was trying to think of five, and then for the last one, I just wrote whatever I'm currently reading. Okay. I recently finished a super cool kind of biography on the relationship between Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. That was very fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you and I have had some texts back and forth throughout the years about books. I'm a big reader too, and I think you and I have some similar tastes and some of the things that we're into and read and stuff. So it's been fun for me to go back and forth with you.
Oh yeah.
On some books there. Let's see. I don't know if you can even answer this, but how many tattoos do you have? Or do you have a couple that are your favorites?
Oh, so I have been getting tattooed consistently for 18 years. I couldn't tell you how many I have. Usually, when people ask me my favorite, I say my most recent. My
Okay.
most recent one was a blast over, which is basically where they just do a thick black design over something else because you don't really feel like trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
Um, but oh, what would my I don't know. It changes, I think, day to day, my favorite. But I got Dirty Breads is always up there as one of my favorites.
There you
Just, I
go.
mean, a lot of my tattoos have a lot of meaning, and
Yeah.
that one is at the top.
Sure. When your parents came to see you play, who had shotgun rights in the car? Hint: it's not a
Oh,
human.
no, Davis, 100%. Yeah. Mom sat in the back. Davis, I mean, Davis had rights before most people.
Yeah. When you hear when I say Murray plays 10-12, what comes to mind?
Oh, I things that I can't repeat. There was,
This was my
uh,
apartment.
yes, this was Blake's apartment with three other of our teammates, one of whom would also eventually become my roommate.
Yep. Lucas Allen, Andrew Sella, and then Leaper.
The parties, I mean, both before and after parties,
Yep.
and then there's a specific uh, list of things that Sella posted on the wall as his things he would do.
Oh my
That
gosh. Well, we
is
can't say those.
always we can't say it. But it's always a funny thing to say
Yeah.
out loud when you're around people that can actually hear it.
The end of it is it's a little secret. I know. I'll
Yes,
give you
it
the
is.
last line.
It's a little secret. Oh, and I would be remiss if I did not mention the work of art that Mr. Blake Helm and his roommates built on the wall of that apartment.
So
I mean,
proud
I'm
of it.
talking an epic, gigantic baseball field out of different colored dip cans. I
It
mean,
was
I'm talking
beautiful.
grizzly dip cans. So you've got wintergreen for the grass.
Yep.
Straight was the dirt. I think you all even got crazy with like some skull citrus as the foul
We did.
poles, didn't
Yeah.
you?
Oh yeah. We had foul pulls. We had a batter's eye. We had what was bat girls. We had
Yeah,
dugouts. Like it was. I'll post a picture of it on the Facebook page. But it was intricate, and we took a
it
long
was
time.
amazing.
Yep. Absolutely. Yep. I was just love that 10-12. So what was cool about that place was, we all showed up as JUCO transfers, and we ended up hanging out with a lot of the younger guys because the guys our age were already established and going out to bars and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. We didn't really know anyone, and you guys didn't know anyone, and you guys needed a place to get out of the dorms and have fun, and we wanted to have fun. So I mean, you kicked it there for a couple of years. It was really fun having guys there all the time. I loved it.
Man, it became a natural spot.
Yep.
I mean, so much so that even just a couple months into that first year, you didn't have to ask people where they were going. You'd all show up to the same place, and
Yep.
you'd see you'd see them when you'd see them.
Yep.
I mean, there are countless stories from that place, whether it's Calhoun falling off the balcony.
Oh my gosh.
You walking around with a Kentucky Gentleman hidden in a Maker's Mark bottle.
Classic. Yeah, there's so
I
many.
mean, but like, there's only like we said before, there are only so many places you can go in Murray, and you all. I don't remember if it was by intention, but your spot became the baseball spot.
It did, and that's special to me. I actually have a 10-12 tattoo on the back of my arm here. Like it's
Oh,
Kentucky, and
hell
then
yeah.
it says it's actually 10-12. So that's a very special place for me. So
Beautiful.
I appreciate you reminiscing there a little bit with me.
Oh, I have got a lot of stories about 10-12, most of which are not
We can't.
appropriate.
They're not. They're really not. But they're great though. Did you have a favorite baseball player growing up?
Greg Maddux.
Really?
Yeah. So remember I said my brother was a Braves fan for a while.
Yeah, before Dave Justice ruined it all.
Yes, before Dave Justice ruined everything.
That scumbag.
So I don't remember how it happened, but I gravitated to Greg Maddux.
Okay.
And I maybe it's just because he doesn't look like he should be a great baseball player either.
Right.
I don't know.
Let's see. Top 5 bands of all time.
Ooh. Got to go with The Clash,
Mm-hmm.
Bad Religion. Lucero is up there. Not a punk band, but an amazing band.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that's hard. This is another one that I think changes day to day. Those top three. I think are always going to be in the top five for me.
Okay, that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Number of choice. What was your favorite number in baseball?
Honestly, it was anything with a three in it.
Yeah, like
Growing
threes.
up, I was 13 or 33. 38, I just got handed.
Yeah.
I don't. Nobody chooses the number 38.
No.
But it holds a special place.
What were your favorite bats? Well, let's say your favorite bat metal, and then what wood model did you end up settling on? And I actually posted a picture. You sent me a picture to post on my Facebook page where I got this thing going where I'm having guys send in their favorite bats. It's just fun to talk about bats, I think.
Oh yeah. So metal, it was whatever we got for free. I'm always partial to Louisville Slugger just because I'm from Louisville. So that kind of when I started playing professionally, the I-13 model, the M9, the Maple Louisville Slugger I-13 was my go-to. It's just the 33 and a half.
Had a lot of head on it.
Oh yeah, it did.
Big head.
I mean, you could just throw that thing around.
Yeah, interesting.
I loved that bat.
Cool. Batting gloves of choice.
Also the Louisville Slugger, what was their brand? TPX. I don't remember exactly what the model was, but they were super padded. So one of the things that I was very intentional about when I was batting was not gripping the bat like strong. Like that thing just like floated in my fingers. Three of my fingers weren't even on the bat, like when I was setting up in my stance. And so I always had to have I always like that extra padding, and then I was always very, very heavily into a shit ton of pine tar.
Oh, for sure. I believe the batting gloves you're talking about were TPX Bionics.
That's it.
Yep.
Loved those.
Glove of choice, like fielder's glove. Do you have like a brand you were loyal to, or?
No.
Nope.
It's whatever somebody gave me.
What about preferred ways to break in and maintain a glove?
I honestly, at any given time, I would look to those around me. When I was at Murray, I would look to see what everybody else was doing, and kind of try to get some pointers. Same thing when I got to minor league ball. I've never been somebody who's too proud to ask for help.
Well said.
So I would always be like, hey guys, what do you think works best?
Love that. What was your intro music?
Ooh,
something that you used. So
that was a fun one. So it kind of went back and forth between, just punk songs that I was really into. It was a psychobilly song I was really into for a while. That just had a really great musical intro.
Yeah.
But there was a portion of 1 year I had the Indiana Jones theme song.
Oh.
And what's funny is I think it might have been junior year. And I think it was like KT, somebody, and then me. And KT got on base. The next person was hit by a pitch, and KT ended up over on third base.
Yeah.
And my theme song, my intro music comes on, my Indiana Jones theme song. And Coach Mack got confused and thought it was like the Superman theme song. And he turned to KT. He was like, how cool is it that they're playing the Superman theme song after somebody just let the ball hit them? Like, that's pretty tough. And then Kyle had to be like, no, that's the wrong theme song, man.
That's perfect.
But yeah, it was usually just something punk, something that got my energy going.
Funniest teammate all time.
Whew. Honestly, I might have to go a very underrated. Anthony Stacy was up there for me.
Really, I wouldn't expected that.
Dude, he was an absolute clown, and I think what made it so funny is he was so unexpected. I mean, he would say shit during team huddles, and nobody would know who to blame because nobody would ever blame the kid who's pre-med.
Right.
That dude was. I think what made him so funny is how unexpected he was.
Love that. Best pick-me-up teammate.
I'm going to go back to my buddy I told you from high school, Thomas Hicks.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, love that. Yeah. Smartest teammate.
Smartest as like intellect?
Sure.
I think one would have to go right back to Anthony. I mean, dude's a doctor.
Oh, done. Yep. Most talented teammate that never played pro ball.
I'd say KT.
Yeah. Absolutely. Who were just name top 3 coaches, managers that had an impact on your career?
Okay. Coach Mack is up there. Rid is up there. And then I might have to go. It's going to be a tie between Skirka my senior year and I'm drawing a blank, so maybe that's a poor omen in picking him. But that my coach from El Dorado.
Okay.
Like I said, him and Skirka both I attribute with kind of breaking down that barrier between authority figure and peer.
Yeah. Most fun year in baseball.
Ooh, senior year.
Got to be, right? Yeah, just magic. Least fun year. Least.
Ooh. The last year's spring training.
Yeah. And you already answered this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. You don't have any regrets, doesn't sound like.
Nope.
Love that. Man.
I don't.
And you mean it. Sometimes people say, I don't have any regrets, and you can tell, you probably got some regrets, but I really believe that you do not have any regrets. And
yeah,
I love that.
Honestly, for me, I miss things, and you and I have talked back and forth a little bit. I'll still catch myself waking up to a baseball dream or two.
Yeah.
But though, I mean, it's the same way that I'll have a dream of going on tour all summer and making a living playing in a punk band.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, but dreams are dreams. I have no regrets. I love what brought me to my path, what brought me to where I am.
Yeah, I love that. And I don't know why this made me think of this, but we talked about kind of how unique you are and kind of different of a baseball guy. And what I always liked about you and found cool was that I never felt like it was forced. It was some people like to be unique just to be unique. You can tell they lean into it because it's I want to be different. And I felt like you just were, and you accepted yourself. It wasn't an act in any way. Some people do that. You can tell they just want to be different. They want to stand out. But I don't think that's your motivation at all. It never has been.
It definitely wasn't. And honestly, I even look back at some of the, silly things that I did that made me stand out. And I'm like, well, that was silly, but it was just where I was and what I thought was me at the time.
Yeah, I love it. What are some of the favorite fields that you got to play at? A couple of them.
Mississippi State was fun because it was that first, first college. I mean, and just the environment, the atmosphere there. Playing in Fort Wayne every day, that felt the most professional ball field I ever played at.
Yeah, like that. Most memorable game of all time.
I think that UK game.
Love that. What are you most proud of looking back on your career?
For me, it's kind of twofold. I'm proud that I'm now learning that my journey also impacted others, and that I'm fortunate that I get to.
That's cool.
I get to take my kids to Murray, and I can show them my name on the Hall of Fame. That makes me super proud. But also, I'm very proud of the family I got from playing at Murray.
Yeah, it is a family.
And, just in, when we were just recording a little while ago, I think I missed 15 messages from the group chat,
Yeah, they're blowing up. Yeah.
They say that.
I lost you. Can you still hear me? I lost you.
Somebody
got you back.
Somebody called me.
Gotcha. Take it back 10 seconds.
I was just saying, some of the guys talk about being busy all the damn time, and yet I get 8 Snapchats before I get in the office. It's guys, pump the brakes. Just kidding, guys. If you're listening, I'm just kidding. I do enjoy watching them.
Did you have any superstitions or anything like that?
Oh, tons. Everything about like I was saying, the thing with the bat, I did enjoy the benefits of a flat bat, but it had to be facing the same direction. Skirka incorrectly said it was Monsters. No, I drink a Rockstar before every game in Murray.
Get it right, Skirka.
I definitely had my routines, and I'm still super superstitious. Superstitious, yeah, you get it. I'm not superstitious, but I am a little. I'm a little stitious.
Most memorable bomb.
Ooh, so that one. I think it might be Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That one, Grand Slam. That was a fun
Yeah.
one.
What do you miss most about the game?
I do miss the camaraderie. I miss just being on the field for, like the pregame, the excitement leading up to the game, and then the game itself. I miss hitting. I don't miss the anxiety of being in the field and hoping they don't hit it to me. But no, I miss being a part of a team like that.
Yeah. Dinner with 3 people, dead or alive.
So I did some forethought on this one.
I figured you would.
So I've got Alexander the Great. He was a very important. I'm very fascinated by his story, and I taught it in my History 101 class. Just a very interesting character whose legacy is critiqued heavily by a lot of historians now. Christopher Hitchens. Very intelligent man, passed away a few years back. And then I'm on the fence between Stephen King, who's my favorite author, and Greg Graffin, who's the lead singer of Bad Religion.
Okay.
Either one of them.
Okay, I love that. Is there any part of you that still thinks "what if" when you look back on your career?
I think it's more self-reflection.
Okay.
Like I think I'm part of a group of folks who we share season tickets to Reds games, and I get like 5 to 10 games a season, great seats, and I'm at those games sometimes, and I think I could hit this guy.
I love that.
That's the what if. It's the
like, I love that.
I'd like to put myself up against these guys when I was in my heyday, not as a 36-year-old, but
right. Did you keep anything from your career that's special to you, like a bat or a glove or anything, jersey?
I have a whole bat. So when I was those 4 bats I sent you are hanging up in my workshop. Those are 4 that I have that are still untouched. But I also have an entire. I made friends with one of the clubhouse managers who gave me one of the big bat bags they used to travel with. I've got that filled with friends' bats, my bats.
Yep.
And then I had a bunch of T-shirts from my time that my mom had put into one of those like T-shirt quilts.
Yeah.
That kind of spans, has some Murray State stuff on there, Eugene, Fort Wayne, Padres.
It's dope. I love that. Here we go. Final question. Do you have baseball dreams?
More than any other dream that I have.
Wow.
Which is surprising. And that's sometimes when I wake up and I'm like, where's that coming from? But it's never far from my mind. Even if, everything else about my life seems like I've have no more relationship to baseball, that's always there. And, I like I said, I still have my bats hanging up in my workshop. I've got a couple of my baseball things hanging up in my office at home.
Yeah. I love it, man. Well, we're at the end, buddy. I can't believe it. This has been, for me, this has probably been the most fun that I've had. And just talking to a former teammate and someone that I, love and get along with, you've been sparkling this whole time and unique, unlike any other baseball guy that I've had on and probably ever will have on. And it's so beautiful. And this truly is, like you said, a journey worth remembering. And
it is.
I really appreciate you giving me some time to talk through it. And we hear from all these former Breds about how they thought about you. And you're going to have this forever. Your kids are going to have this. Your parents are going to have this. Anyone in your orbit can
I'm
listen
so
to this.
Thankful, dude. I've had people in my life already reach out. Former teammates, Brad Rowland texted me the other day.
Rowland, cool.
Yeah. High school friends texted me. My brother texted me. My brother sent me a pretty heartwarming text. He was like, man, this is really fun to listen to. He's like, I was 4 years older than you. I was in grad school at the time. I couldn't follow your journey as close as I probably would have wanted. So it's really cool to get to hear it.
I love that.
And man, honestly, I'm so thankful for you for helping me tell this story and engaging with everybody who means so much to me. And
it's been an honor.
Not gonna lie, I wish I could lie and invent a whole nother chapter just so we could keep talking. But
I know, man. We need to keep in better touch. This has been so fun.
I know. Maybe maybe I'll contribute some more to some of your other small stories you have going on, and
I'd love that.
I might hound you to come to the golf outing this year.
I'm 100% coming in. So let me say that too. I've, in some ways, I've never totally disappeared in terms of like I still text people, but I haven't seen any guys in probably 10 years. And this has reconnected me with Murray in a way that is very special for me. And I'm 100% coming to this next golf outing, and I can't wait to see you guys. And I just have, nothing but love for my Breds family. I've got 2 clips to take us out here. Are you ready for them?
Yes, sir.
First one is going to be Don, and then second one is going to be Ricky Flicky himself, Mike Bracani.
Whoa.
Yep. So how we always took out practices and games, we would always go. Do you remember this? Breds on Dirty.
Yep.
So Sauce was always doing it. So Saucy's going to take us out. Mike Bracani, all-time Murray State great, went on to have a nice pro career himself. So here we go. This is going to be Don Cunningham, DC himself. Couldn't be prouder. And then Ricky Flicky taking us out.
Yes,
Wes,
sir.
thank you so much for your time, buddy. Love you.
Love you, man.
Here you go, man.
I couldn't be prouder. I mean, my wife Sue and I are always pinching ourselves, telling each other how lucky we are to have, both boys to have come up. And when I say that, I'm not leaving Brandon out, but both boys, Wes especially too. But the way they were able to chase the dream, they finished. Neither Sue or I finished college. And both of them, we preached to them, y'all going to finish college. Both of them did, and both of them went on to get their masters. And both of them are working in fields that they both love. And
so cool. Yeah.
And they're married. Each of them have 2 boys. Wes has a third one on the way in April. And,
wow.
What else can you there's not much else you can ask for than to have your kids happy, found somebody they love, they want to share, spend their life with, and have a family. All the kids are healthy, thank God, and they're doing what they like, and it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, life is as simple as that.
Here's Sauce.
Breds on Dirty Breds.
All right, you guys, post game spread. We're out of here.